Now this here is something you don't hear every day. This is actually from Kitco News. You know, every now and then, like Buffett or George Soros will change their position in gold. Oh, they're just accumulating a bigger gold position. You know, an elitist does that. I'm reporting it, right? And I come out here and do my videos, guys. You know, I just noticed George Soros got a big, chunk of shares in such and such GLD or whatever it is. You know, gold related, or whoever the top, elitist is that's doing it. And a guy like him, you pay attention to. Who is above Soros? Let me give you a name you probably heard once or twice by now. Rothschild ups gold bets. What? Kitco News. As central bankers continue their greatest experiment in monetary policy in history, it is important for investors to focus on preserving wealth. This, according to one member of the Rothschild banking family. One way to do that is with gold, noted Jacob Rothschild, chairman of London-based RIT Capital Partners, in a letter to shareholders Monday. In times like these, preservation of capital in real terms continues to be as important an objective as any in the management of your company's assets, he wrote. As such, the firm has reduced its exposure in equities, read bank stocks, shares, etc., and the pound sterling to 44% and 25% respectively. At the same time, Rothschild said they increased exposure in gold and precious metals, so that would include silver, potentially other metals, but gold and silver, rest assured, by 8% by the end of June. Well, we're in July, August now. Did he up it again? A lot of times it's like quarterly, so we don't find out till 2-3 months later. They made this big move. The bottom line is, I don't care if it was 1%. When Jacob Rothschild sends a letter out to their, partners or whatever, or shareholders in his company that says, guys, probably not a bad idea to hold some gold. And perhaps, it's just 8%. Okay. 8% is not going to cause a panic. It's just 8%. I mean, they dropped the pound sterling. We removed 44% of our investment there, and 44% exposures to equities. Got rid of those. That's huge. And 25% to the pound sterling. That's large as well. However, the equities, 44%, that's massive. Again, these people know exactly what the hell's going on before it even happens. So he's gotten out of those investments and is starting to slowly get into gold. Now, if you read, he took that 44% of equities he just dropped and threw it all into gold. That might cause a panic. Oh my God, what did Rothschild do? Holy crap, listen, we need to get in on that. But it's just 8%. But again, that's also from June. Did he buy another 8% in July and another 8 or 10% in August? We don't know. The point being, though, is he did buy precious metal as far as investments. He invested in precious metals. He didn't invest in the sound age-old, sound is a clock ticking. Investments in the U.S. government, i.e. treasuries, bonds, etc. No, Rothschild didn't get rid of his equities to go into supposedly safe haven U.S. treasuries. No. He went to precious metals. Imagine that. The 5,000-year-old relic, according to Ben Bernanke, just a relic. And he even said it preserves wealth. It is important for investors, this is his quote, to focus on preserving wealth. Again, at the same time, Rothschild said they increased exposure in gold and precious metals by 8% by the end of June. So they said they did that. Again, they may have went apeshit on gold. But for the news and, the sheeple out there, we just did it. We just did 8%. Again, we don't want to cause a panic because we need to go buy it now. And if a panic happens, there may not be enough for us in them. At the same time, this is going back to June. This is posted August 15th, 2016. So he can say whatever the hell he wants. He's already purchased it back in June. But again, I still don't think they want a stampede of people to all of a sudden, oh, Rothschild's changed. He's the elitist of the elite. Let's go do what he did. Well, he's only invested 8%. Yeah, okay, we'll do the same. But you take 8%, and let's just say some of these other big hedge funds or whoever, investment firms, well, we'll do the same. Let's go buy 8%. These guys aren't playing with millions. They're playing with billions, sometimes hundreds of billions. So when I hear the word 8%, 8% of what? Your entire, investment fund, which, is how big? 100 billion, 200 billion, 500 billion, 2 billion, who knows? But whatever it is, 8% could be massive. Quote, we are therefore, this is him, quote, we are therefore in uncharted waters, and it is impossible to predict the unintended consequences of very low interest rates with some 30% of global government debt at negative yields, combined with quantitative easing on a massive scale, he wrote. I find that interesting. We are therefore in uncharted waters, and it is impossible to predict the unintended consequence. Oh no, Mr. Rothschild, as you know, it's very possible to predict what happens with very low interest rates, some 30% global government debt at negative yields, combined with quantitative easing, printing money on a massive scale. It's pretty obvious what happens, as a matter of fact. It's very predictable. And it ends with a massive boom and a sucking sound. Boom, market collapse, sucking sound, your retirement, anything in paper that was written on a piece of paper that you thought was an asset is now worth almost nothing, if not purely nothing. Quote, nearly all classes of investment have been boosted by the rising monetary tide. Meanwhile, growth remains anemic, with weak demand and deflation in many parts of the developed world. He added that many risks remain in the marketplace, including the geopolitical situation in the United Kingdom post-Brexit, the U.S. presidential election, slow growth in China, and unrest in the Middle East. These factors should continue to bode well for safe haven assets such as gold. Rothschild also said he even prefers the yellow metal over its main rival, the U.S. dollar. For a second, I thought I was going to say silver. So many people getting into silver now. Like, is he actually going to say it? Because if he says silver, it's the opposite. He's trying to scare you away from silver and get into gold. But this is even better. Rothschild also said he even prefers the yellow metal over its main rival, the U.S. dollar. I prefer gold over the world reserve currency. What kind of statement is that? The world's reserve currency. Essentially, it's the world currency, you could say. It has been for decades. I'd rather put my money in gold, he says, right? Again, all you have to be is a fly on the wall. That's me, JSnip4, fly on the wall extraordinaire. I find nuggets like this, and I give them to you. Hey, check it out, guys. Listen to this. I don't know if I've ever come out here, to be honest with you, and said, oh, listen to what the Rothschilds are doing. Here's an investment that they just did, or here's where they put some money. I don't know that I've ever been able to do that because I've never seen anything like this. The only thing that I get to see is like, oh, Soros moved some money. This other billionaire did that. Okay, there's 2 or 3 billionaires now doing the same thing. Okay. But the king himself, the king of the world himself, or the family anyways, come on. Quote, our significant U.S. dollar position has now been somewhat reduced as, following the dollar's rise, we saw interesting opportunities in other currencies as well as gold The latter reflecting our concerns about monetary policy and ever-declining real yields. Based on the company's latest financial report, RIT Capital Partners held up 22.9 million euros in the BlackRock Gold and General Fund and 7.6 million in gold futures as of June 30th, 2016. The financial statement also shows 1.5 million holdings in silver futures. Now notice what he's saying. These are futures. This isn't real gold. This isn't real silver. These are paper contracts. But nonetheless, he's saying we're gonna do this. Now, also remember that these things are always leveraged. You can play the game with 10%, right? You can play with 100% as if you had 100 ounces of gold that you're playing with on the market. If it goes up a little bit, you make a fortune because it's leveraged 10 freaking times. 10 times 10 is 100, right? So you have 10%, you play with the 100%. There's a little bit more to it. There's margin fees and all that crap, but let's just make this simple, okay? 10% to play with the 100%. So if he has 22.9 million in the BlackRock Gold and General Fund and 7.6 million euros in the gold futures and 1.5 million in silver futures, it's 10 times that amount. So if these are futures contracts, now the BlackRock Gold and General Fund, I don't know if that's some kind of levered position, but the futures for sure, right? So 7.6 million in gold futures will be the equivalent of 76 million. 1.5 million would be the equivalent of 10.5. As far as profits go, should the price rise when he's, in other words, if he has $1.5 million in, silver futures and the price goes up $1, each one of those contracts just made $1,000. Well, and that's a mini futures contract. You talk about a full-size contract, 5,000 ounces, that's $5,000. How many ounces can $1.5 million buy? Or not necessarily ounces, but futures contracts? 10%. Again, if the price drops, you lose just as bad. You can go down in a hurry, in flames. So when you have someone like this putting that, and that's not a lot of money. It says their latest financial report. It's not, I'm thinking, is he got 200 billion, 20 billion, some kind of billions? They're just showing millions here. But again, he said it was just 8%. So these numbers are reflecting 8% into those things. Did they buy more in July? Did they buy more now in August? And not to mention, that's public data, that information, from their financial reports. So if that's the case, again, you don't want to tip everybody off, get into gold big time. Flood it, get in there as fast as you can. No. We're just going to up it a little bit. But it's interesting for me, Rothschild, you're actually into futures? You're not a physical man yourself? And if he was standing next to me, you know what he'd say? Jay Snip, come on. Of course I'm a physical guy. The paper's for the sheep. We want to show everybody we're into the paper. We're not really into the paper. Me personally, I'm buying physical constantly. But we want to let everyone else know, if you're going to do this, don't go and buy the physical. Do what I did. Buy the paper. Futures contracts. Right? So that you slam the market down and give everybody a margin call. So anyways, I could have did a one subject line video if I was trying to do this as fast as possible, and it would have said, now Rothschild is advising to own gold. And I could have left it alone. But you might want to know more. Well, why and how much and who and right? So I've got to read you the story, man. I got to give you the news the way I give you the news. First time ever, I'm telling you, I don't think I've ever talked about Rothschild as far as their financial investments. I can't recall if I'll bear with me because I've got 2,000 something videos on YouTube now since 2009 and 10. But I'm pretty darn certain, Because just as easy as I remember George Soros for sure. There's been a few other people, but I usually love when George Soros does it because, he's a super elitist that no one questions as being an elitist. Oh, look what he just did. He just got out of the equities. He just put in the gold, But Rothschild, this right here is what I call a nugget. Nugget of good information. Take care.